Hello and thanks for joining us on Chicago Tonight, Black Voices. I'm Brandis Friedman. On the show tonight, residents in North Lawndale are pushing back on a plan they say would tear down historic buildings and steer more truck traffic down their streets. There's still a lot we don't know about the cancer's risks and outcomes in Black women. A new study aims to change that. And remembering a pioneer of Black theater in Chicago, Val Gray Ward. And now to today's top story. It took into the wee hours of the morning this morning, but Illinois lawmakers passed a new $53 billion state budget overnight. Governor J.B. Pritzker says it took hard work, compromise, and creativity to craft a spending plan he says is balanced.
Our record of fiscal responsibility and responsible investments is well established. If you don't want to take my word for it, just ask those who independently evaluate our state's creditworthiness. Over the last 3 years, Illinois has received 9 credit upgrades.
All Republicans and some Democrats voted against the package because of tax increases on sports books, retailers, and corporations. They also took issue with how the money is spent.
Non-citizens and ex-cons are receiving more benefits than veterans. There are larger tax credits going to criminals, who we now call returning citizens, than there are to hire a veteran.
Other budget highlights include $350 million more for schools, 5,000 more preschool spots, elimination of the 1% statewide sales tax on groceries, although municipalities can create a local sales tax, and a pay raise that brings legislators' base salary to almost $94,000. For more budget takeaways, please visit our website. Up next, concerns over increased truck traffic in North Lawndale. That's right after this.
Chicago Tonight, Black Voices, is made possible in part by the support of these donors.
Developers are pumping the brakes on plans for a controversial logistics and distribution hub in North Lawndale. It comes after residents pushed back on the plan, citing the environmental impact of the demolition and the health implications that could come with increased truck traffic. The project would also tear down 2 buildings preservationists say are historically significant to make way for the nearly 250,000 square foot facility. Joining us now with more are Alderman Michael Rodriguez of the 22nd Ward and Adela Bass-Lawson, a health equity organizer at People for Community Recovery. We also reached out to IDI Logistics, the developer of the project, but have yet to receive a response. We thank our 2 guests for joining us. Alderman Rodriguez, let's start with you, please. What is your initial response to bringing a project like this to North Lawndale?
Worked with my North Lawndale Advisory Committee made up of longtime residents of the community and nonprofit economic development advisors, things of that nature, to create a space for community to have a say on this development. From the beginning, we told the developer, and the developer agreed, that they would not have a transportation, distribution, logistics facility. Well, they've reneged on that in their plan development documents. So my advisory committee voted unanimously to not support their plan development application. And I wrote a letter to such to the Plan Commission at the last Plan Commission meeting. We'll see what happens moving forward. I'm very interested in potential manufacturing development in the area. That's higher paid, higher wage jobs, less truck traffic for the immediate residents. I think that's within the interest of my community members and what I want to support in that area.
Adela, can you explain a bit about how much truck traffic a development like this could potentially bring to a neighborhood?
So with this truck traffic, it can impose a big risk health-wise. I just did a collaboration with another organization who did a study of a 24-hour period of what trucks traveling through one area at a time, and the highest that they received as far as trucks in that area in a 24-hour period was 5,000 trucks. That's 5,000 different trucks letting off different emissions and toxic fumes into the air. These communities that they build these industries in and areas, we already deal with a lot of impact from the surrounding industrial companies. So having this truck stop can impose a lot of health risks like asthma, COPD, cancer. It's just too great of a risk for already suffering communities from different industrial areas in the area.
Now, according to the proposal, truck traffic would be, quote, less than existing conditions. This is according to IDI Logistics. Alderman, has the developer explained how that's possible?
Look, we've worked with the development with the developer for over a year now. With my advisory committee, met with them over 17 times and 2 community meetings. The fact is that our neighbors want good paying jobs in the community, but we don't have to have good paying jobs and potentially more truck traffic in the community. Look, the developer has said that they're willing to have less trucks than what's most previously been there. Well, put your money where your mouth is. The fact is that we've agreed from the beginning that transportation, distribution, logistics would not be a part of this development, take it out of development, and then work in good faith with my advisory committee to come up with a community benefits agreement. That means that local individuals have chances at contracts and jobs at the site. I hope that the developer would come back seriously with that kind of amended proposal that I think my community would be fine with. But right now, as it's written, I just can't support the proposal as it is.
Adela, some critics of this proposal have suggested other locations for this development, but what do you think it says about how developers are making these decisions if they continue to put operations like these in communities like Little Village or North Lawndale?
So it's difficult to continue to impose these health risks for the benefit of financial gain. We're tired of being communities that they just dump these toxic issues at and then just let us breathe and live happy. There are children, there are seniors, there are people already with issues in the community, as I mentioned before, from the industry. There are other places, there's open spaces, there are suburbs that they could take this in those communities to make sure that they have that place there and it's space enough so when the particles from these emissions, these truck stops, goes into the air, it's not affecting the little kids playing on the street or the senior who's out walking her dog. You know, you just have to think about the day-to-day lives and the risks that these truck stops can potentially do in these communities. So just finding another space, there's plenty of open space in suburbs and other community areas that will have less impact on us.
North Lawndale, Adela, it's one of many areas that are deemed environmental justice neighborhoods according to the city's cumulative impact report. Do you think enough is being done to protect the health and well-being of people in those communities, particularly with regards to environmental justice?
I don't think so, because we're on this topic right now asking about a truck stop that will, have records shown that it imposes an environmental risk to the community. The cumulative impact has shed light on these communities, but it also, we're talking decades of cleanup. And having truck stops and other industry things like these coming to these communities, it's just adding fuel to the fire. I believe that it shouldn't continue. Now that the light has been shed on these communities and other communities, it just needs to stop. It doesn't agree with what PCR and other environmental justice organizations have fought for to get to have it where we're saying enough is enough. We're tired of being the communities where these operators and these industry people and developers, we're tired of living and dying at their financial gain. Enough is enough.
There's the health concerns, but also Preservation Chicago has named the buildings on this property among the city's 7 most endangered because of their historical significance. Alderman, are you concerned at all about the historical value of these buildings that could be lost if they are demolished?
Look, a couple things. One is I think there's a diverse set of opinions from neighbors about those buildings. I heard at a community meeting attended by over 80 people in December how they didn't like to see these buildings that are there because they are a sign of a racist history where Blacks weren't employed in this location, right? And then we have good people who think that these buildings are of value. Look, bottom line for me, I want good paying jobs in my ward. I want the residents of my ward who are Black and brown to be in the Little Village, North Lawndale area particularly, to be able to have good paying jobs. But I also don't want them to have more trucks coming by. And if this developer wants to bring good paying jobs that'll create cranes and put cranes in the skies, that's good. I want that. But not at the expense of the health of my local neighbors, not at all.
Okay. Well, that's where we'll have to leave it. Obviously, something we'll keep listening out for. Thanks to you both for joining us, Alderman Michael Rodriguez and Adela Bass-Lawson.
Thank you.
Up next, a new large-scale study aims to figure out why more Black women are getting cancer. Black women are 40% more likely to die from breast cancer than white women, according to the American Cancer Society. And the medical community still doesn't fully understand why. Now researchers are embarking on a 30-year study to better understand the risk factors and outcomes that make Black women more vulnerable to many kinds of cancer. Joining us now with more are Paris Thomas, Executive Director of Equal Hope. Calling in on Zoom are the study's co-lead from the American Cancer Society, Lauren McCullough, and Reverend Ethel Southern, a participant in the study. And thanks to all three of you for joining us. Lauren McCullough, let's start with you, please. Tell us about the significance of this study.
Yes, well, for many years, we've had decades of medical advancements, and Black women have not benefited equitably from this additional knowledge. We know that Black women are more likely to have comorbid conditions, more likely to be diagnosed with cancer at later stages, and are more likely to have aggressive tumors. And with very few exceptions, Black women have the poorest survival across race and ethnic groups. And so it's with this understanding that we felt it was necessary and well-timed to launch a study like Voices of Black Women.
And Lauren, give us a sense, if you would, of how the study would work as far as requirements to participate, the surveys that participants are asked to complete, how many people you're trying to get to participate.
Yes, so our target number is 100,000, so 100,000 Black women. And to participate in the study, you need to be a Black woman residing in one of the 20 states or DC. You also need to be between the ages of 25 and 55 and never have been diagnosed with cancer except for skin cancer. A woman can begin to join our study by going to voices.cancer.org. There, they can confirm their eligibility, consent to participate in research, and do the initial registration: name, email address, phone numbers, address. These are all the things we need to be able to keep up with a participant over 30 years. From there, you would complete your first survey, which is about an hour long. And after that, you'd be fully enrolled in the Voices of Black Women. And so over the next 30 years, we plan to contact participants twice a year for them to complete a short 30-minute survey. And so we initially wanted to design this survey so that Black women wouldn't feel burdened by the task. But we say a short 1-hour investment per year could substantially improve our knowledge and begin to narrow some of these disparity gaps we've seen.
Right, so we should be clear, obviously there's no trialing of the participants in this instance. It is regular surveys over the 30 years, the lifespan of the study. Paris Thomas, why do medical studies typically suffer from sort of like this underrepresentation of Black women?
So yeah, there's multiple reasons as to why Black women historically have not participated in studies like these. The first would be mistrust. For decades, we have seen Black bodies be exploited in research. We understand the implications of that. There's also the usage of that data. Women are concerned, is it going to further perpetuate historical, misrepresentations of Black women, or is it going to be used to tear down our communities? There's also social economic factors for individuals who don't have certain things to be able to get to studies, such as transportation, or maybe I live within a neighborhood that isn't so safe, so I don't really leave my home. There's other things such as just communication. Are we actually even being told about the studies that are out there? Research has shown that when it comes to physician time with Black patients is lower than those of other ethnicities, meaning that we're not getting access to that information. So those are important things.
And how does that sort of lack of representation, how does that then impact medical treatment and outcomes for Black women?
Yeah, so that definitely skews the research that is out there, meaning that when there's treatments and things that are produced, we're not a part of that, which is why we continue to see the disparity specifically for Black women in the cases of these cancers. It's important we're a part of the conversation. As many of us say, it's nothing about us without us.
Okay. Reverend Southern, why did you want to participate in this study?
I wanted to participate in this study because I had a sister of love. It was 7 years in March that she died, and she died from breast cancer. She found out that she had breast cancer as she was going through all of the screenings for a double lung transplant. And upon finding out, I knew there were some things that I needed to do as I journeyed with her. And it's important. It's so important. One of the speakers they talked about the mistrust. Black women, we don't trust. But then when we look at someone like Henrietta Lacks, we have reason to not to trust. So for me, I'm extremely passionate about this new initiative that the American Cancer Society has with Voices. And I believe it was Father George Clements said, reach one, teach one, adopt one. So that's the approach that I'm taking with this. And we're going to get our 100,000 women. We're going to get them.
All right. Lauren, you're in the process of enrolling these 100,000 women now. Have you seen yet any challenges in getting folks to sign up?
So we actually piloted the study last fall where we were able to, roll everything out, make sure systems work, make sure there were no barriers. And I'm really excited to report there haven't been very many obstacles. I think the biggest thing is just spreading the word. It's that acknowledgement, knowing that the study is there, knowing that it is built for them by an exclusive group of women and largely Black women, and just having people want to be a part of this really groundbreaking initiative. But we are always open to hearing feedback from potential participants and existing participants about how we can make it easier on them to navigate through and to join the study.
And Lauren, what are some of the factors that this study will be looking at over these 30 years?
That's a really great question. So it being a health study, of course, we're going to ask sort of the normal things about, medical conditions, drugs that you're taking, vitamins and supplements, family history. We're also going to ask a little bit about lifestyle and behavior. So physical activity, a little bit around diet, things around your neighborhood environment. So, people don't choose to have an unhealthy diet. A lot of times it's based on where they live, food deserts, food swamps, those sorts of things. And then really novel to this study are really sort of all the things around the experience of being a Black woman in this country. We ask about experiences of racism and discrimination, biases and all sorts of things, getting a job, buying a house, home valuations. We ask about experiences of trauma, even in early life, as well as social support and caregiving. We know that Black women are often the matriarchs of their families, and that comes with a certain amount of stress and responsibility. And so we really want to understand those experiences. That way we can have a full breadth of knowledge as we're considering the implications for health.
Paris, what do we already know about how Black women are impacted by different kinds of cancer?
Yeah, so we know, for example, that Black women are more likely to die from breast cancer, although they have a lower incidence. Specifically here, you pointed at 40%. Here in Chicago, at some point, it was at 62% for Black women. So it was even higher. We know that Black women suffer implicit bias in the healthcare system. We understand that Black women are dying in the maternal space. We know through healthcare, Black women have suffered through multiple type of conditions in this space. So.
Reverend Southern, did you have any fears or questions before deciding to participate in this?
None whatsoever. For the last 2 years, we partnered with American Cancer Society because of the area and where our church is located. And we see the large number of Black women who are being diagnosed on a daily basis. So no, when I was asked about it, I was all in. 1,000%.
No questions, no doubts. Lauren, we've just got about 30 seconds left, but briefly, this is a 30-year study, I think the first of its kind. Will the medical community, will the Black women community have to wait 30 years before being able to learn from your results?
No. So the nice thing about these prospective cohort studies is we can learn different types of information along the way. Very early on, shortly after we have our 100,000 women, or maybe even before that, we can learn about some of the things that increase risk factors that we know are related to cancer, such as obesity. We can look at environmental differences in neighborhoods and try and pinpoint the reasons that we see these differences and other conditions like COPD, respiratory conditions, etc. We can also speak to a lot of other health outcomes. We are asking about cancer because we are the American Cancer Society, but are also asking about maternal outcomes, diabetes, lupus. And then we expect that within the first 5 years, we'll begin to see some cancers emerge and we'll be able to understand why more aggressive cancers. And then, of course, after about a decade or so, really looking at outcomes and disparities in mortality.
All right, we'll talk about it again in 5 years. We'll have to leave it there for now, though. My thanks to Lauren McCullough, Reverend Ethel Southern, and Paris Thomas for joining us. Thank you. And for more information on the study and details on how you can participate, please visit our website, WTTW.com/news. And up next, remembering a pioneer of Black theater in Chicago. The life and legacy of a pioneering Black theater company's founder was remembered this past weekend. Members of the arts community gathered for a memorial service to honor Val Gray Ward, who died earlier this year. She founded Kumba Theater, a well-known theater company that was part of the Black arts movement in Chicago. We caught up with her son to talk about her legacy ahead of that event.
Come on, baby. When I got up, walking around my bed. Y'all know that feeling?
Kumba Theater Company was formed in 1968, formed out of her house and out of the need to create a theater company that believed in the concept of cleaning up, creating, and build a better environment for our community. Out of 1968, we grew to be a not only just locally well-known company, but the first Black equity company, and then internationally known. We performed in Japan and Montreal, Canada, Africa, all across major universities across the country and major theaters. Initially, my mother was on founding board of ETA Theater as well. Then she formed Kumba after that. Precious Memories Strolling 47th Street.
Since I lost my baby, I almost lost my mind.
The name of the production, it highlighted what 47th Street and the South Side was like in its heyday. It won 21 television Emmys, and it's been seen now internationally all over the world, and has some of the finest Chicago musicians that the world could have ever known. Lecturing up until her death, she had a lecture that she was supposed to be giving, or an acknowledgement to the University of Illinois, to the African American Student Union, because she had been the first director Black Student Union in the University of Illinois. And so they were giving her an acknowledgement because they had built a new building to let her know that had it not been for her, there may not have been a new building.
Got my mojo working, but there's no work on you. I wanna love you so bad that I don't know what to do.
And Val Gray Ward died on March 7th at the age of 91. And that's our show tonight. Be sure to check out our website, WTTW.com/news, for the very latest from WTTW News. And join us tomorrow night at 5:30 and 10 for Chicago Tonight Latino Voices. We meet the family behind an iconic theater in Little Village as they get landmark status. And we explore the challenges and experiences of small business owners across Chicago. Now, for all of us here at Chicago Tonight Black Voices, I'm Brandis Friedman. Stay healthy and safe, and have a good night.
Closed captioning is made possible by Robert A. Clifford and Clifford Law Offices, a Chicago personal injury and wrongful death firm, and proud sponsor of programming that offers advice and strategies to enhance the physical and mental well-being of fellow legal practitioners in Illinois.